Elizabeth Wilson didn't earn any points. I don't know what she did that made it feel like she stabbed me in the heart with those tools that she was using to try to do an endometrial biopsy. But I can tell you this, after I went over my symptoms with her in October of 2014, she immediately wanted to rule out cancer. That's how bad the symptoms were. I was constantly running a low-grade fever, even with the medication that was actually keeping those fevers at a minimum. It was still high. Beth immediately, she really wanted a biopsy. Beth, they were really concerned. Once I made that claim of discrimination in October, after Beth Wilson attempted that, Dr. Wilson attempted that endometrial biopsy there in the clinic, all of a sudden, nobody's concerned about cancer anymore. All of a sudden, everything's in my head because I was abused as a child, and these are just benign tumors, even though there was no biopsy done, and all the symptoms were indicative of something other than benign tumors. They weren't documenting all the symptoms. That's why I was repeatedly sending the bleeding pattern and what brought on the bleeding, no matter how minimal the activity, whether it was sex, whatever it was, not actual sex, but sexual activity. And I recorded myself telling Beth, I'm not trying to bother you with all this information. This could be indicative of an important pattern. And she didn't say anything. She had no problem with me sending her this information about the bleeding pattern. There was no flirting. There was no playing. It was just strictly business. Let's get this diagnosed. Let's find out what it is. Get what we need done and get you well so you can, stop taking the medication and so forth. That was October. On November 7th, after I asserted that discrimination claim with Rebecca Leach and told Rebecca Leach what happened at Green Meadows Clinic, and that those doctors were recorded being abusive and refusing to send for an ultrasound, refusing to make referrals to a GYN, that it was pelvic floor, which clearly Beth Sweeney actually did an evaluation and an exam and said, this is your uterus. This is something serious. This is not all these different conditions that everybody's trying to say, oh, this is this, and this is that, and this is caused by that. She said, this isn't caused by 15 different things, or different things. It's all one thing. It's all your uterus. I get a call from Beth saying, you've got a fibroid, and I'm like, fibroid? What's a fibroid? It's a tumor. I'm going ballistic because nobody told me. Nobody. All those months of all that suffering, and nobody bothered to tell me. I get a postcard from Elizabeth Wilson stating there were benign fibroids and a bill for a biopsy that she wasn't able to do because it hurt too bad. And she even documented that it hurt too bad. All of a sudden, Elizabeth Wilson's trying to refer me to an MRI for my back. I recorded me telling Beth Sweeney, I said, they did a lot of x-rays and CAT scans and stuff on my back in Florida. They said, whatever's causing all this pain isn't your back. I said, do you need me to sign releases so you can get that? No. She just kind of shook her head like, oh, shit. She had a really like, oh, shit look on her face. Like, oh, my God, we are like in a lot of trouble here. We're not going to get that one over. This attempt to create false alibis for what I now know is their sister clinic, which was Green Meadows, which is now South Providence, has moved to South Providence. Nobody told me that the Family Health Center was their sister clinic. On the audio, I'm basically just making the complaints about the symptoms. When are we going to get something done? I'm tired of taking this medicine. I want to go back to work, etc. They're making more excuses than punks going to jail. I immediately start, after I asserted that discrimination claim, before I got the phone call telling me that I had the tumor, I sent text messages and emails to Nanette and Catherine saying, you watch. After I make that discrimination claim, they're going to make Beth change her diagnosis. They're going to make her change it to something that has nothing to do with my uterus. Sure as shit. I get that phone call from Beth. Oh, Dr. Wilson thinks it's your back. I said, don't even go there, Beth. I recorded that 2.5-hour exam. You did a very thorough job of making sure this wasn't my back. You said it wasn't my back. It wasn't the fibromyalgia. It wasn't all this other stuff. It was my uterus. Lo and behold, there's a tumor after you guys refused to send for that ultrasound for all those months. I said, I already predicted you were going to do this. I said, it's a no-go. Give it up. Let's get this, let's get this taken care of properly. This crap isn't going to work. I know you guys like to take care of each other. I said, I was a phlebotomist. I know how doctors look out for each other. We're not even going to go there. You already know it's not my back. She knows it's not my back. She wouldn't have been so concerned about cancer trying to do a biopsy if she thought this was my back. I'm not going to have some unnecessary $5,000 MRI billed to me because I'm not covered by insurance. Oh, well, let's get you Medicaid. Medicaid for what? I can work when I'm properly cared for. What do I need Medicaid for? Well, let's get you your Social Security benefits. For what? I can work. Why do I want to make $500 a month? I can make $500 a week if you guys would stop trying to cover their asses at Boone Hospital Center, who lied to me, and Hannah Gavari and Alicia Luden not doing their job. And now you guys are up a creek because there's a tumor there that you already got recorded saying was already the cause of all my problems. Too late. Busted. So I end up getting a job. It's one where you don't have to use your brain much. I went to work at Harbor Freight Tools. You stand a few hours a day. You can easily double your salary selling their extended service plans and on their, major tools. Power tools, stuff like that. I started that job, I believe, November the 17th, roughly 2 weeks after Beth informed me that I had the tumor. I work about a week and a half. Actually, prior to that, prior to me starting the job, I asked Beth, I said, please prescribe Prozac for the sensory overload. Dr. Grandin says it's really good for dulling all that sensory overload stuff so that we're not so overwhelmed by sounds and things. Well, Beth just wasn't going to just write for anything willy-nilly. She knew I wasn't a psych patient. She knew I didn't need to be seen by any psych doctor. She knew I was overwhelmed by physical symptoms. And she did a very thorough evaluation to see if it was appropriate for her to prescribe that. She says, we're going to try you on a very small dose. And if it helps, let me know. If it doesn't, we can always go up. It immediately started helping. I told Nanette, I said, the Prozac's actually helping with the pain. It's actually making the pain medicine work. By that time, the symptoms had gotten bad enough that we had, I believe, discontinued the Vicodin, went up to 6 tramadol a day if I wanted. After she started the Prozac, I said, we don't need to keep prescribing 6 tramadol a day. Let's go down to 3 tramadol a day where I was originally. And I'll just take, I'll take that and the Prozac. And I said, if I have breakthrough pain, then we'll deal with that later. I said, I really didn't like the Vicodin. It made me depressed. I said, I tolerate Tylenol 3 better. She said, do you want some? I said, no. Let's wait and see how work goes. Went to work. She did end up augmenting the Prozac and the Tramadol with Tylenol 3 because it was a 3-hour trip. back and forth. Well, actually, no, that didn't, the 3 hour trip, but I was walking to and from work for the most part, a mile there, a mile back. And I was working longer shifts because I worked close to the apartment I was staying in, so I was doing scheduled for 6 and 7 hour and 8 hour shifts. At some point over Black Friday weekend, something ruptured really, really bad. I'm going to stop here. I'm at 10 minutes, 24 seconds, and I'll go into that very terrifying experience.